Hey guys, it's your favorite host from Weld.com, Hunter Wilson, aka Texas Pipeliner 35. We're out in the field. We're going to be laying some pipe in the ground. Plans have changed on us, the way we're going to run this, so things are going to be a little different. It'll be kind of interesting. We're going to talk about it. Either way, it's going to be a good time. Go ahead and swing that out. First things first is I start getting set up. Me and the helper both have different jobs that need to get taken care of here. This helper's relatively new, he's still learning where everything goes on the truck, and that's fine. I'm gonna start by getting the Hoosier pole swung out. I'm gonna get my leads pulled out and up on my Hoosier pole so that way no one's gonna be stepping on them. Down the right of way, or when we're going down the right of way, this is also to keep my leads from dragging on the ground. You're gonna wanna put hooks on your Hoosier pole or wrap your leads around that Hoosier pole so that way they can hang and not drag. Last thing we're going to do is we're going to set up those umbrellas and get those ready to go for the day. We're probably going to be doing this a little differently than how it's normally done. We only got a mile. You can see the pipe right over there on the racks. And usually when you're going down a right of way, they'll have your pipe stacked up on these skids or, you know, one of those plastic cones. There's different ways of doing it. You can see the right of way right behind that pipe rack right there, kind of, sort of. When I get out here, or anytime welders get out there, the pipe's already strung out and up on the skids. Apparently they didn't have time to do that. So what they did is they brought these things. These are rollers. We're gonna put this pipe on these rollers and they're just gonna pull it as we go section to section. I'm not quite sure how that's gonna work out with me and the other welder. I've done it before with those rollers by myself and it works great for these short run lines, but I'm not sure how it's gonna work out with two. We're all learning some new stuff today. Let's get things rolling. Usually when you do a pipeline, you have your bead hand in front, you go down the line, each different pass is a different welder. The way we're doing it on this job though is I'm running beads, so I'm gonna be behind the guy running fills and caps. It's definitely an interesting one on this job. We got that backhoe on that back end of the pipe. He's dragging that pipe for us. We welded on a pull head so he can drive down the right of way. Me and the other welder are gonna stay where we are and we don't have to move all day. Everything's on me where I want it lined up. I gotta be paying attention to what that backhoe's doing, what I want, where I need it, all that good stuff. The other thing is it's gonna keep that other welder that's running fills and caps set up in the place where he needs it. As that tractor gets farther and farther away, we're gonna be switching over to radios to communicate with that operator. Everything is super repetitive and everyone has a spot, everyone has a job, and that's their one job the whole time. You know, I got one labor hand over here on the front of me who's helping me get my fit up right. As soon as I'm done with my tacks, my helper is slapping another rod in my hand. I'm moving the grasshopper out of his way real quick and he's grinding those tacks. And that's typically the way these things go. Especially when it comes to pipeline. They want everything done as fast as possible. When it comes to the front end crew stuff, the people running beads and hot passes, stuff like that, everything is down to a science almost. And it gets to a point where it's muscle memory. But this is also why when we set up for the day, everything has a place. And that's that spot for that particular thing, just like how that person has that particular spot for that particular day. Make it as simple as possible so we can make it as quick as possible. We got a little over a mile to do. We just stopped for lunch right now and we're almost at 3/4 of a mile. Me and this other welder, we've worked together in the past. We can knock some stuff out pretty quick. And it's only schedule 40, so he can hot pass that's, you know, his fill as well and then cap it, boom, done. Now, one thing I will say is dragging it the way we are on these rollers is not the best way to do it, because if there were a whole lot of rocks out here, we'd be scratching up the coating on the pipe. It just wouldn't be good for business. After we hydro test this, what the guys are gonna have to do is they're gonna have to do what's called jeeping the pipe. It looks like a metal detector, but instead of the disc on the end, it's got this spring that wraps around, and anytime it hits a bare spot, it beeps. they're gonna have to Jeep this whole line after this, fix any spots that the coating didn't last on. I mean, this coating's pretty thick, it's some pretty tough stuff, but that's one thing they're gonna have to do. So when it comes to that, not my pig, not my farm. After this, we're gonna get started on some fabrication work. Let's see how the rest of the week goes. What you can see that I'm doing here is I'm cutting these thread nipples in half. Then I'm gonna go ahead and bevel those by hand. And the reason is we're gonna be welding these thread nipples onto some 90s, so that way we can build our risers. Everything above ground past these 90s is gonna be threaded. That's what the customer wants, so that's how we're gonna do it. Tying into the separator at the tank battery, tying into the sales point. After that, it's all gonna be threaded. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna build what's called futures. We're gonna have pieces coming up out of the ground, and whenever they drill new wells in this field, we're gonna run more pipelines back to this main line, and it'll all get sent back to that sales point. What you can see here is my boy Mike in the back building bullpens. Shout out Mike, love that dude. What these bullpens are for is they're gonna go around these futures that we're building. That way the landowner, when he's out here doing his thing on his tractor, he's not gonna accidentally bump into these futures. Cows aren't gonna be getting in the way, hurting themselves on it. It's just a way to protect the line from the environment and the environment from the line. So while he's doing that, I'm getting started on these risers. I gotta put T's and 90s on these things. It's not hard work, it's all pretty simple stuff. Not working hard at all, just getting it done. We got the tie-ins taken care of, you know, we got the fabrication done, main line's all hydroed and tested, and everything is good to go, everything's shot. But the fun thing about this job for me is it's literally right down the road from one of my favorite fishing spots. So now that we're done, the helper and I are gonna go do some fishing while we're here, because might as well. To recap on everything before we go and do the fun stuff, you know, pipelining is all about speed, accuracy, and repeatability of your consistency, which is what consistency means, I think. I don't know. I'm a welding instructor, not an English professor. Don't quote me on certain things. It's all about speed, consistency, repeatability, all that. Making sure everyone is on the same page, everyone's on the ball, getting everything done so it all flows seamlessly and quickly as possible. Now, there will be times where you're going to run into issues and things are going to get difficult. People are going to be lost on certain things. Those things just happen. Luckily for us, this doesn't happen very much with the crew that I work with, but these things do happen, so be ready for that. It is a whole lot of fun coming out here and doing stuff like this. You know, pipelining is definitely one of my favorite things, even though technically this is a flow line, not necessarily a pipeline. There's a difference between the two, and we'll get into that in a different video. But yeah, so that's all I got for y'all. I'm out of here, and I'll see y'all down the line.